In the early 5th century BCE, a profound shift was underway in the ancient Greek world. The age of myth was giving way to the age of reason. Among the many thinkers who sought to understand the nature of reality, one figure stands out for his radical and enduring vision, Parmenides of Elea. Often called the father of metaphysics, Parmenides challenged the very foundations of how we perceive existence, knowledge, and change. His ideas would ripple through the centuries, shaping the course of Western philosophy. This video explores the life, works, and legacy of Parmenides, tracing his journey from the Greek colony of Elea to the heights of philosophical thought through his seminal poem, On Nature. Parmenides invites us to question the world of appearances and to seek the unchanging truth beneath. Parmenides was born around 515 BCE in Elea, a Greek colony on the southern coast of Italy known as Magna Graecia. Founded by Phocian Greeks fleeing Persian conquest, Elea was a vibrant cultural hub where Greek traditions mingled with local Italic influences. This unique environment fostered intellectual curiosity and debate. The early 5th century BCE was a time of transition. The old mythological explanations of the cosmos, filled with gods and legends, were being questioned. Thinkers like Thales, Anaximander, and Heraclitus sought natural and rational explanations for the world's workings. It was into this ferment of ideas that Parmenides emerged, founding what would become the Eleatic school of philosophy. Parmenides' background was aristocratic, and he likely received a broad education. Some traditions suggest he was influenced by Xenophanes, a philosopher who criticized anthropomorphic gods and emphasized a singular divine principle. Others point to Pythagorean influences, particularly through a figure named Arminius, who may have introduced him to mathematical and metaphysical concepts. Regardless, Parmenides' thought was shaped by the intellectual currents of his time, even as it broke decisively from many of them. Parmenides' philosophical legacy is encapsulated in his poem On Nature, a work that survives only in fragments but remains one of the most important texts in ancient philosophy. The poem is structured as an allegorical journey, beginning with a prologue in which the narrator travels to meet a goddess who reveals two paths of inquiry, the way of truth and the way of opinion. The prologue sets the tone for the entire work. The narrator's chariot ride through gates of night and day symbolizes the transition from ignorance to enlightenment. The goddess warns that only one path leads to genuine knowledge, the way of truth, while the other, the way of opinion, is fraught with illusion and error. At the heart of Parmenides' philosophy lies what he calls the way of truth. Here he presents, a radical metaphysical doctrine. Reality is one, unchanging and eternal. Parmenides begins with a fundamental assertion: what is and what is not is not. This simple yet profound statement denies, the existence of non-being. To conceive or speak of non-being is impossible because it would imply that non-being somehow exists. From this premise, Parmenides argues that change, becoming, and multiplicity are, in fact, illusions. If something truly is, it cannot come into being from nothing, nor can it pass away into nothing. Being, therefore, must be eternal and indivisible. It cannot be fragmented or altered, for that would require the presence of non-being between parts. This vision of a singular, homogeneous, and unchanging reality stands in stark contrast to the views of contemporaries like Heraclitus, who famously claimed that everything flows and that change is the essence of existence. Parmenides challenges this by insisting that sensory experience, which shows us a world of change and diversity, is ultimately deceptive. In the second part of the poem, The Way of Opinion, Parmenides turns his critical eye to the everyday world perceived through the senses. He describes a cosmos of opposites, light and dark, hot and cold, life and death, that appears dynamic and fragmented. Yet, according to Parmenides, this world is a realm of appearances, a world of error and illusion. The senses, he argues, mislead us into believing in change and plurality. Our opinions, shaped by sensory input, are unreliable guides to truth. Instead, reason alone can lead us to the understanding of the unchanging reality, described in the way of truth. This distinction between the deceptive world of opinion and the rational world of truth marks a turning point in philosophy. Parmenides elevates reason above sensory experience. laying the foundation for metaphysics and epistemology. Parmenides' ideas did not exist in isolation. He founded the Eleatic school, which included notable figures like Zeno of Elea, who famously crafted paradoxes to defend Parmenides' doctrine of the unity and immutability of being. These paradoxes challenged the coherence of motion and plurality, reinforcing the Eleatic view. The impact of Parmenides extended far beyond Elea. Plato, in his dialogues, wrestled with Parmenidean themes, especially the tension between the world of forms, unchanging realities, and the sensory world. Aristotle also engaged deeply with Parmenides' ideas, critiquing and building upon them in his own metaphysical system. Through these engagements, Parmenides' thought became a cornerstone of Western philosophy. His insistence on the primacy of being and reason influenced centuries of metaphysical inquiry, shaping debates about existence, knowledge, and reality. Today, Parmenides remains a subject of scholarly fascination and debate. His poem's fragmentary nature leaves room for interpretation, and philosophers continue to explore the implications of his arguments. Some see him as a pioneer of logical rigor and metaphysical monism. Others emphasize his challenge to the reliability of sensory knowledge. Parmenides' work also resonates with contemporary philosophical and scientific questions about the nature of reality, the limits of perception, and the foundations of knowledge. His distinction between appearance and reality echoes in modern discussions of consciousness, quantum physics, and ontology. Parmenides of Elea stands as a monumental figure in the history of thought. His life in the vibrant intellectual milieu of Magna Graecia, his groundbreaking poem on nature, and his profound philosophical insights mark him as the father of metaphysics. By challenging the reality of change and emphasizing the unity and permanence of being, Parmenides set the stage for centuries of philosophical exploration. His legacy reminds us that the quest for truth often requires us to look beyond appearances, to question our assumptions, and to trust reason as our guide. In a world that constantly changes, he invites us to seek the unchanging reality beneath, a pursuit as vital today as it was over 2 millennia ago. Parmenides' ideas remain a cornerstone of philosophical thought, reminding us that true understanding requires looking beyond the surface of appearances. His emphasis on reason and the unchanging nature of reality continues to influence how we approach questions about existence and knowledge. Even today, his work challenges us to reflect on the limits of perception and the pursuit of truth, making his ancient insights as relevant now as they were over 2,000 years ago. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe for more. And thanks for watching.